Star Wars is in turmoil right now. After the disastrous The Acolyte, Disney doesn't know how to develop the franchise further, and inside Lucasfilm there is a struggle to choose the right direction. A new trilogy has been announced, some films have been cancelled, prequels, on the contrary, have been confirmed, and some projects have been postponed. In general, incomprehensible things are happening. Today we will discuss what is happening with the beloved franchise, what projects to expect in the near future, and most importantly, will the studio return to basics? Sit back, because in the next few minutes we will dive headlong into a distant galaxy. Let's start with the most important thing. Simon Kinberg is officially working on a new Star Wars trilogy. It is not yet entirely clear whether this will be episodes 10, 11 and 12 or something completely new. In the past, Lucasfilm has tried to work with less experienced writers and directors who didn't have experience working with major franchises. In the end, nothing worked out. Kinberg, on the other hand, is a very experienced screenwriter and producer with dozens of major projects under his belt. He wrote the scripts for X-Men, the first Sherlock Holmes by Guy Ritchie, was one of the creators of Rebels in the Star Wars universe, helped Abrams with the 7th episode, as well as with the creation of Rogue One. And it seems like he can't even count how many films he has produced. Among the largest ones are Deadpool, Logan, Elysium, Jumper and X-Men, First Class. In other words, he has plenty of experience, and he understands how to work with big franchises. There was also news that the untitled Star Wars has been moved from December 2026 to December 2027. It is expected to be the Rey movie, which has already been pushed back several times. However, some believe that this release window was booked specifically for Kinberg's trilogy. While the news is very positive, there has been no progress on this project for quite some time, and even 2027 sounds very optimistic. The fact is that Kinberg has already signed on to reboot and oversee the Star Trek franchise for Paramount. A new script was recently completed, and there is hope that production will begin as early as 2025 under the direction of director Toby Haynes. Kinberg notified everyone in advance that he will first complete his commitments to Paramount and only then take on Star Wars. Funnily enough, this is a bit of a repeat of J.J. Abrams, who launched the rebooted Star Trek timeline back in 2009 and ended up at Lucasfilm to make Star Wars. Episode V, The Force Awakens. Paramount even settled with Disney for compensation for the inconvenience, reportedly in the 7 figures. But this time, the situation is a bit different. Kinberg is determined to finish Star Trek before moving on to the galaxy far, far away. For us, that means a new trilogy is a while off. And given that Lucasfilm has never been quick to approve new ideas, fans are skeptical that Kinberg's trilogy will get off the ground. As for the story, it is now clear that it will not continue the Skywalker saga, which has been going on since the first film by George Lucas. Although a number of major portals initially wrote that it would be a direct continuation of the story we know, it has now been confirmed that we are in for the beginning of a new plot that will unite all future projects of the distant galaxy. We will see completely new characters and a comprehensive story. Interestingly, George Lucas had been planning episodes 10 through 12 for a long time. At the very beginning of the development of the films, he wanted Luke Skywalker to become an emperor, and his sister to be a completely different character. This, by the way, explains the now shuddering kiss between Luke and Leia in The Empire Strikes Back. In the current list of upcoming films in the Star Wars universe, all are declared as separate films. Many franchise projects are currently being prepared for release. Filming of The Mandalorian and Grogu has already been completed. A point in the history of the heroes is being prepared. James Mangold's upcoming Dawn of the Jedi is set to take viewers into an era of unknown Star Wars history and show the birth of the Force. Lucasfilm still seems intent on expanding on the story we know, while building on what we know. In addition, Daisy Ridley recently announced that she would still return to the Solo film, despite rumors of its cancellation. The Deadline portal confirms this and reports that the Rey project is alive. Moreover, it will lay the foundation for new episodes. The film will be directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, who has already stated that the era of women has arrived in the franchise. According to previously published information, Rey will create and lead a new Jedi Order. The events will unfold 15 years after the last episode of the main story. We are waiting for a kind of introductory part, indicating the prospect of a new threat and the creation of a Jedi Academy. Rey herself will become a new incarnation of Obi-Wan for new episodes. This information was shared by the famous insider Jeff Snyder. But after the announcement that the Skywalker saga is complete, the need for this film and its connection with the upcoming trilogy remain in great question. Clarity will likely be provided at Star Wars Celebration 2025, which is scheduled to take place in Japan in April. These conflicting reports illustrate what is happening at Lucasfilm. The media has long written that the company is in a crisis of management. Some studio executives know what is being worked on at the moment, while others are not aware of the plans at all. However, everyone agrees that the original trilogy is inviolable. Changing its legacy to suit the agenda is a bad idea. The management wants to create a new trilogy to reboot the franchise, but no one can come to a consensus. Perhaps that is why it was decided to invite Kinberg, given his track record. In addition, the company is increasingly convinced that television projects have much more freedom and do not face such canon problems. Therefore, in the near future, the series will continue to develop. By the way, we have already had a chance to feel the latter. After the success of The Mandalorian, we were given a whole bunch of series, which, of course, differed from each other in quality. The recent The Acolyte is a striking example of this. At the moment, the studio's plan looks like this. The Mandalorian and Grogu will be the first film in the new wave of Star Wars. At this stage, little is known about it, but it is reasonable to assume that it will be an adaptation of Jon Favreau's scripts for the 4th season of The Mandalorian. Filming of the project has already been completed, and the release date is scheduled for 2026. We've already talked about the strange story with Rey and her new Jedi Order, so now we just have to wait for news. Initially, the script was supposed to be written by Stephen Knight, who we know from Peaky Blinders. It's hard to imagine how good the film could have been back then, but Knight left the project and is now busy producing the final film about Thomas Shelby. James Mangold's film is set 25,000 years before the Skywalker saga. It will be the final prequel. We also know that Dave Filoni is slowly rising through the ranks and was recently promoted to Chief Creative Officer. He worked closely with Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. His own film will take place in the Mandalorian era, with Grand Admiral Thrawn as the main villain. He himself promised that it will not just be a repeat of the traditional dynamic of the confrontation between the New Republic and the Empire, but a fresh take. The Lando project, conceived as a Disney Plus exclusive, has now been converted to a full-length film. The script is being written by Donald and Stephen Glover, who have been slowed down by the strike. Donald Glover himself will reprise the role of Lando. He also managed to say that the film will be less serious than we are used to seeing in the franchise, whatever that means. Its release date has not yet been set. Sean Levy also recently confirmed that he has been approached to direct an as yet untitled Star Wars film. After rumors first surfaced, Levy shared on social media that it was his dream project. Although, after the release of Deadpool and Logan, the director confirmed that the film is currently stuck in standby mode while he is busy filming Stranger Things. Also, in November 2017, we were told that Rian Johnson would be launching a new Star Wars trilogy outside of the Skywalker saga, but nothing was known about the plot. And the project was in the early stages of drafting for a long time. Apparently, it was quietly cancelled after all, since Kinberg was brought in as curator, although he may entrust the filming to Johnson again. The director is finishing work on the 3rd film, Knives Out, and may well return to Disney. In addition, Taika Waititi's unknown film has not been cancelled. The director made it clear in a recent interview that the project is not moving forward, but it is too early to talk about his death. So we can still see his vision of a distant galaxy. Kevin Feige's mysterious film in the Star Wars universe was announced back in 2019. However, production was moving very slowly because he objectively had no time to do it. The Avengers put a fat point after the finale, and the cinematic universe began to have problems, so the film was officially frozen, but also not cancelled. And, of course, the upcoming series, the release of which is highly anticipated. This is Skeleton Crew with Jude Law, the action of which takes place in the era of The Mandalorian. The plot will tell us about a group of children drifting in space with a mysterious Jedi character. The 2nd season of the wonderful series Andor, which will cover 4 years between the end of the 1st season and the film Rogue One, and the last series, work on which has already begun, is the continuation of the series Ahsoka. As you can see, in the next few years there will be a huge number of projects in the Star Wars universe. We can only hope that Disney will take into account the experience of both the previous films and the recent series, which turned out to be of no use to anyone. In the meantime, be sure to write your opinion in the comments. Is the franchise developing in the right direction? What projects are you waiting for, and which ones are you most unsure about? That's all for today, friends. See you in new videos very soon.